He told me he would protect me, that he loved me, that he was gonna take care of me. I just need a warm place to stay for the night. He told me that nobody would ever love me more than him, that I was worthless without him, and I believed him. I owe it to him after he took me in. He bought me stuff and paid attention to me, unlike anyone else had ever before. Nobody has ever loved me like him. Where else was I supposed to go? Nobody was looking for me. Sometimes he hurts me, but only if I disobey. Plus, I owe him for all he's done for me.
Common misconceptions about sex trafficking are, I would say, one, that it's a low-income problem, and that is a problem that perhaps takes place in the less desirable or more seedy parts of our community, when in fact it's a problem that affects all races, ethnicities, and socioeconomic ladders, rich, poor, black, white, you name it.
Common misconceptions about sex trafficking is that it only happens to children, that it doesn't happen in our backyard, that it only happens to girls, that it is about deviant relationships and young people who are bad. Folks are connected in these relationships that oftentimes look like the best relationships ever, right? Or we engage in relationships out of necessity. It's domestic violence, it's sexual assault, it's immigration, it's child abuse, it's force, fraud, and coercion. It's all of these different things embedded into a relationship based on misconceptions and promises that don't come to fruition. And so young people who have engaged or have found themselves in foster care system can be preyed upon because of the vulnerabilities and the traumas that they've had. And traffickers and perpetrators are more than willing and eager to step into those spaces where we've failed our children.
Oftentimes youth in the foster care system are constantly coming up against barriers that oftentimes others outside of the system don't necessarily have to think about on a day-to-day basis. A lot of times fake job opportunities plays a huge role in that, and that's something that we see quite often.
The community should know that Attention Homes has been here for a long time combating this issue in our community. That there are disproportionate numbers of young people experiencing homelessness on our streets, and that we are the only youth shelter between Denver and the middle of Wyoming. In the foster care system and in this group living arrangement specifically, when you talk about predators, right, I hate to frame it this way, but for a predator, it's low-hanging fruit, right? There are a group of young people that are longing for connection, feel disconnected from lots of things, are experiencing adults as authoritarians in their lives, most typically. And what's normative developmentally is for them to rebel against that, push against that. And so the risk isn't necessarily while they're at the facility. The risk is that young people are running from these facilities or leaving these facilities at really high rates for all the reasons that are valid. Within 48 hours, right, fully 1 out of 3 young people are approached for and or start the grooming process. The perception of I'm somebody who can take care of you, right from the gate, that's pretty quickly where it shows up. The Super Bowl, the stock show comes into town, football games. Trafficking is happening anywhere where there's a demand. And unfortunately, people don't believe it's happening in their community. We have run into it a bunch in Boulder where people are like, that's not happening in Boulder. We know, in fact, it is. We've been doing this work for a while with partners like law enforcement, and we do see it here. We have staggering numbers of young people that come here and report that they have experienced exploitation. And so, again, we know that it's happening here.
Communities can engage in combating this issue by getting plugged into almost the 17 to 21 different task forces we have around the state of Colorado. Locally, we have a very robust anti-trafficking movement where anybody from a community member to a professional can find themselves really supporting and finding ways to engage and combat this issue.
Our combating human trafficking is about building that network of raising awareness, and that's significant.
It never dawned on me that I was a victim. This is all I know. Maybe one day I'll be free again.